The observation deck at the Galactic Defense Command headquarters should have given people hope. Instead, it only made people feel hopeless. Commander Marcus Chin stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the huge ship that was floating in the construction bay outside the reinforced windows. The Breaker of the Void. Even its name meant something, a promise that now sounded empty. "It's so pretty, isn't it?" Admiral Rebecca Torres said softly as she came up to the window next to him. Her reflection showed how tired she was, with lines on her face that hadn't been there 2 years ago when the project started. "Pretty and useless," Marcus said in a bitter voice. 10 billion credits. 4 years of building. The smartest people from 17 different species. We can't even get it to work. The Void Breaker was almost 2 kilometers long from bow to stern. Its hull was made of living metal, a new material that could fix itself, change to fit damage, and connect directly with a pilot's brain waves. Its weapon systems used technology from the ancient precursor civilizations that was strong enough to keep whole fleets at bay. Every calculation and simulation showed that it could change the course of the war against the Krillian swarm, which had been eating colonies on the outer rim for the past 18 months. But those were only guesses. Only simulations. Rebecca sighed and moved closer to the window. The last test pilot was a Valorian. "Marcus, they have 12 neural lobes." "Well, who else can handle the load on the interface?" "What happened to him?" "He was in a coma in 40 seconds. His brain just couldn't handle all the information coming in. The Voidbreaker's neural network is too fast, too complicated, and too strange. It's like trying to solve quantum equations while drinking from a fire hose." Marcus turned all the way around to face her. "Then we throw it away. Get what you can and make something useful out of it." "We don't have time." Rebecca's voice got so low that it was almost a whisper. "Reports from intelligence came in this morning. In 3 weeks, the Krillian Vanguard will reach the Helios system. After they take Helios, they will only have empty space and hope between them and Earth." The weight of her words hung between them like a rock. Marcus looked back at the Void Breaker, a beautiful monument to how ambitious and unsuccessful people can be. Brilliant engineers had gone too far in their design, making something that no known mind could control. The ship's AI was smart enough to do basic tasks, but in battle, it needed to make quick decisions, think outside the box, and create the kind of creative chaos that only living minds could provide. The neural interface was meant to close that gap by combining human intuition with machine accuracy in a way that was seamless. Instead, it had turned into a wall that no one could get over. "How many types have we tried?" Marcus asked. 43. From the telepathic Mindari to regular humans with standard enhancements. None of them worked. Some people left with mild headaches. Others? She didn't finish what she was saying. Others ended up like the Valorian. "Yes." With a soft hiss, the door behind them slid open. Dr. James Okoye, who is in charge of the Neural Integration Division, came in holding a tablet. Marcus couldn't quite put his finger on what was going on with his dark eyes. Excitement? Fear? "Admiral, Commander, we might have something," James said, his Nigerian accent getting thicker as he spoke. "It's not normal." Rebecca turned quickly. "James, if this is another suggestion to change the interface, I've already told you," James interrupted. "It's not about changing the interface, which was against the rules for him to do unless it was very important. It's about finding the right mind." Marcus felt a flash of something he had almost forgotten. Hope. "Tell me." James turned on his tablet, which made a holographic display appear in the air between them. Neural patterns moved around in 3-dimensional space, creating branching paths of light that looked like abstract art. James went on to say, "We've been going about this the wrong way. We thought we needed a brain with more processing power, more neural pathways, and more space. But what if the Void Breaker doesn't need anything else? What if it needs something else? How are they different?" Rebecca asked, moving closer to look at the patterns. "All of the species we tested had some neurological similarities. They all process information in a hierarchical way, with data moving from lower functions to higher reasoning centers in a way that can be predicted. But there are some strange things about people. Unusual neural architectures that don't fit the normal model." He made a motion and the hologram changed to show a different pattern. This one was a mess, with paths splitting and reconnecting in ways that seemed random but somehow made a whole. "This is Cadet Anya Sharma, who is now in her 2nd year at the academy. Standard military psych tests showed that her neural pattern was strange. Not lacking, just different. Her brain doesn't work in a straight line. She makes intuitive jumps that her teachers can't follow. She sees patterns when others see noise. And her stress response is the opposite of what it should be. Instead of her neural activity going down when she's under stress, It goes up, but it stays coherent. Marcus looked at the pattern and tried to figure out what it meant. You really think this girl can fly the Void Breaker? I think she's the only person in the database whose neural signature even comes close to meeting the ship's interface needs. The Void Breaker does millions of calculations at once along paths that aren't straight. It needs a brain that can think the same way. Rebecca said, she's a cadet. Not even finished school. James said, she's 19 years old. She's also very smart. Top marks in advanced piloting, tactical simulation, and theoretical xenotechnology. Her teachers say she's hard to teach because she gets the right answers in ways that are hard for them to understand. Or maybe she's just lucky, Marcus said. For 2 years in a row? James shook his head. I've looked over every test and every simulation. Even though it's not normal, there is a way she thinks. More importantly, early scans show that her brain might be able to handle the interface load. Maybe. It might not happen, but it's the first real chance we've had. Rebecca was quiet for a long time, and her eyes stayed on the neural pattern that was floating between them. Marcus could tell what she was thinking. They were all. This was a kid. A student. And they were thinking about putting her into a machine that had broken the minds of experienced pilots. What is the experimental neural link you talked about in your report? Rebecca finally spoke up. James thought about it. That's the part that people disagree on. Standard neural interfaces link the pilot's brain to the computer on the ship. That connection lets information flow. But the organic parts limit the bandwidth. The human brain just can't send or receive data fast enough for something like the Void Breaker. And what about this test version? Marcus asked. It gets around the limit by basically merging the minds. You don't get two separate entities talking to each other, you get one hybrid entity. For a short time, the pilot's mind and the ship's intelligence become one. The machine's processing power works with the organic mind's creativity and intuition. That's crazy, Marcus said. James said, that's why it's an experiment. The technology is out there. We have tried it out in controlled settings with simple systems. A pilot can join a fighter craft for a few seconds, feel what the ship feels, and make decisions at the speed of the machine. But the Void Breaker. He pointed helplessly at the huge ship outside the window. This would be a lot more complicated. We would be asking a human mind to connect with an intelligence that is bigger than anything we've tried before. What are the dangers? Rebecca asked, but Marcus thought she already knew. Complete neural breakdown. Permanent psychological disintegration. Loss of personal identity. Death. James clinically listed them, but his voice shook. Or it works and we have a weapon that could save us. The three of them stood there in silence, the weight of the choice heavy on them like the gravity of a star that was about to collapse. Rebecca finally said something. Get Cadet Sharma for me. Before I send her to hell, I want to meet her. The call came while Anya Sharma was in the middle of a simulation run. It was a classic tactical situation. 3 enemy fighters against 1 defender with no ammo and shields failing. The answer in the book was to pull back, call for help, and protect the asset. Anya had never been good at answering questions in books. She used the gravitational pull of a nearby moon to slingshot her virtual ship around and into a spiraling dive that would have turned a human pilot's organs into paste. Then she came out on the tail of the lead enemy fighter. Getting creative was necessary because there were no weapons. She aimed the exhaust from her ship directly at the enemy's sensor array, which temporarily blinded it. Then she used the confusion to put herself in the crossfire between the other 2 enemies. They killed each other trying to hit her. Simulation complete, the computer said as the fake world around her faded away. Performance rated, strange. Anya took off her neural interface helmet and said, that's what they always say. Her short black hair was wet with sweat because it was short for practical reasons. The Academy simulation pods were the best, but they still made you work for them. Anya's stomach dropped when the pod door opened and Lieutenant Sarah Mills was standing there with a look on her face that made her stomach drop. Cadet Sharma, you have to come with me. No. I didn't do anything, Anya said without thinking, going over the last few days in her head to see if she had done anything wrong. There was that thing that happened in the mess hall, but she wasn't to blame. Mostly. You're not in trouble. Admiral Torres wants to talk to you. Anya blinked. Admiral Torres? The Admiral Torres? Commander of Galactic Defense? That would be the one. Come on, we don't have time to ask questions. It felt strange to walk through the hallways of the Academy. Other cadets stopped to watch Anya go by in her simulation suit, following Lieutenant Mills at a fast pace. People whispered after them. Is Sharma there? What did she do? I heard she broke into the simulation network. No way. She probably got kicked out of school for what she did in advanced tactics. Anya kept her eyes on the road ahead, her mind racing. She had never met Admiral Torres in person, let alone been asked to meet with him alone. This could have been very good or very bad, but Anya wasn't betting on good because the lieutenant looked so grim. They got to a safe briefing room that Anya didn't even know was there. Lieutenant Mills looked over her credentials, and the door opened to reveal a room with a big table and even bigger holographic displays showing star charts and tactical data. Admiral Rebecca Torres sat at the head of the table. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her uniform was spotless even though it was late at night. Anya sat next to a man she knew as Commander Chen from the Tactical Division and a civilian in a white coat she didn't know. Cadet Sharma, Admiral Torres said, pointing to a chair. Please sit down. Anya sat up straight with her hands in her lap, just like they had taught her in basic. Her heart raced against her ribs. Do you know why you're here? Torres wanted to know. No, ma'am. Good. That means the security measures are working. Torres tapped her tablet, and a huge starship appeared above the table. It was like nothing Anya had ever seen before. Please tell me what you know about the Void Breaker. Anya looked at the ship and her mind automatically recorded what she saw. It's the first capital ship. It was supposed to be the answer to the Krillian threat for humans. I heard it was having problems with its technology. Technical difficulties, Commander Chin said again with a bitter laugh. That's polite. With a look, Torres told him to be quiet. The Void Breaker can't be piloted, Cadet. No one in the whole galaxy can connect to its neural network, even though it is the most advanced warship ever built. 43 different types have tried. All have failed. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am, but I don't see how this helps me. The person in the white coat leaned forward. Hello, I'm Dr. James Okoye. I am in charge of the Neural Integration Division. Cadet Sharma, your brain is... Anya's cheeks turned red. Sir, I know that some of my teachers think my methods are strange, but... Not strange. One of a kind. Dr. Okoye turned on another hologram that showed neural pathways in 3 dimensions. This is your brain or a map of how it processes information. Do you see these links? These patterns? They don't fit with how the human brain is normally built. Are you saying that I'm not right? Anya asked, her voice getting defensive. Torres cut in, I'm saying there's something special about you. Dr. Okoye thinks that your neural pattern might work with the Voidbreaker's interface in a way that no one else's has. The words hung in the air like a dare. Anya looked at each person's face to try to figure out what they were really saying. Do you want me to drive that ship? Torres made it clear, we want you to try. Using a new type of neural link technology that will connect your mind to the ship's AI. It's risky. Could kill you. But if it works, we might have a chance against the Krillians. Everyone in the room stopped talking. Anya could hear her own heart beating and feel the weight of 3 pairs of eyes on her. She thought about her family who lived on Earth. Her mother worked as a hospital manager. Her dad was a teacher. Raj, her younger brother, still sent her excited messages about starting his own academy application next year. She thought about the colonies on the outer rim and the millions of people who had already died because the Krillians were getting closer. She thought about the simulation she had just finished, which used strange methods to get results that seemed impossible. How often does it work? Anya asked. Dr. Okoye moved around uncomfortably. We've never tried anything this big before. Some of the risks are neural collapse, permanent mental damage, and death. But what will happen if I don't try? Torres looked her in the eye. In 3 weeks, the Krillians will be on Helios. They'll be on Earth in 6 weeks. We can't defend ourselves well enough without the Void Breaker. We lose. Then you don't really have a choice, do you? Anya spoke softly. She was shocked at how calm she felt. Could have been shock. It could have just been her brain working in that strange way it always does, figuring out a way through the mess. Torres said firmly, there's always a choice. I won't make you do this, Cadet. This has to be done on your own. Anya stood up straight and squared her shoulders. When do we begin? Commander Chen let out a breath he had been holding. Dr. Okoye looked like he was about to cry. Admiral Torres just nodded and you could see that she respected him. Right now, Torres said. We have a week to get you ready. Dr. Okoye will go over the first steps with you. You'll have a medical exam, a neural map, and a psychological evaluation. You'll learn about the Voidbreaker systems and the new link technology that is being tested. And what about Cadet Sharma? Yes, ma'am? Thanks. There aren't words for what you're doing. Anya was able to smile a little. Let's wait until we see if I live, ma'am, to say thank you. Anya's head was spinning from all the tests, scans, and briefings that happened over the next 7 days. She found out that the Voidbreaker's neural network was partly based on technology that had been reverse-engineered from precursor artifacts, which were alien machines so advanced that humans still don't fully understand them. The ship had thoughts that weren't quite AI and weren't quite human, but they were something in between. She learned that the experimental neural link would create what Dr. Okoye called a consciousness bridge. This meant that the link would be so strong that her mind and the ship's mind would become one for the duration of the link. She found out that 3 people who had taken the test before had brain damage that would never heal. 2 were dead. They showed her the interface chamber on the 6th day. It was smaller than she had thought it would be, almost too small. In the middle of the room was a chair that looked more like a medical device than a chair. It was surrounded by machines that hummed with barely contained power. The neural connection points shone like metal thorns. Dr. Okoye's voice echoed a little in the sterile room as he said, "You'll be here. The physical connection happens first. These ports will link directly to your neural tissue. It will hurt. I won't lie about that. Then we turn on the consciousness bridge and the real link starts. What will it be like?" Anya asked, running her fingers over the armrest of the chair. Anyone who has been through it can't really explain it. The test subjects who lived through the first trials talked about vastness, of being more than who they are, of having thoughts that are too big for a human mind. Sounds scary. It is. Anya looked up at him. Do you think I can do this? Dr. Okoye was quiet for a while, and his dark eyes looked deep in thought. I believe you're the only one who has a chance. Anya, your brain is wired in a different way. While others see chaos in the Voidbreaker's processing, you might see patterns. You need to be able to make intuitive leaps and think in nonlinear ways. But I won't tell you a lie. The odds are still against us. My teachers always told me I was good at beating the odds. He smiled, but his eyes didn't smile back. Let's hope they were right. Admiral Torres came to see her on the 7th day in the small room they had given her near the medical wing. The door rang while Anya was looking at technical schematics on her tablet and trying to remember how the Voidbreaker worked. Come in, she said, thinking it would be another doctor or technician. Torres walked in by herself, and without her usual group of officers and aides, she looked smaller. She sat down across from Anya without saying anything. How do you feel? Torres wanted to know. Anya said, I'm scared. There was no reason to lie. But ready? Good. Terror means you know what's at stake. Ready means you're a soldier. Torres stopped for a moment to think about what to say next. I wanted to talk to you not as an admiral, but as someone who's put too many young people in danger. You'll tell me I can still back out, Anya guessed. I'm going to tell you that if you do this and live, things will never be the same. Not the war, not the fleet, and not you. Anya Sharma will not be the same person when she gets out of that chair as she was when she went in. Joining your mind with something so big and strange, it changes you at a very basic level. Will I still be myself? I don't know, Torres said honestly. Nobody does. That's one of the reasons why the technology stayed experimental. The moral implications are huge. Anya put her tablet down. Admiral, with all due respect, I don't think we can afford to have moral debates right now. The Krillians won't wait for us to think about the ethical issues that come up with new technology. Torres smiled sadly. That sounds like something a soldier would say. Or a realist. It's not always easy to tell the difference. She stood up to leave, but then she stopped at the door. One more thing, Cadet. Your family. We haven't told anyone about this, but if you want to send a message. No, Anya said right away. Too fast. She changed the way she spoke. My mom will try to stop me if I tell them what I'm going to do. My dad will worry himself sick. And Raj, he still thinks war is an adventure. I don't want him to know that his sister signed up for a mission that would kill her. It's not a mission to kill yourself. Isn't it? Torres didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Anya went on, if I don't make it, tell them I died doing something that was important. Let them know I was brave. They don't need to know anything else. And what if you do? Anya thought about that. About what it would mean to succeed in merging her mind with an alien intelligence and living. Would she be able to look her family in the eye after that? Would she even want to? If I make it, she said quietly, I'll tell them myself. Torres nodded once, quickly and like a soldier, then left. Anya sat alone in her room looking at the blank wall, and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. She would sit in that chair tomorrow. She would open her mind to something big and unknown tomorrow. Tomorrow she would either save humanity or be the latest warning story. She picked up her tablet again and made herself pay attention to the plans. She was going to do it right if she was going to do it. In the dark of space, the Voidbreaker waited in silence, like a giant sleeping and dreaming of electronics. And in that same dark place, the Krillian swarm got closer to Earth with each passing hour. The timer had started. The interface chamber felt colder than Anya thought it would. She sat in the chair. No, the integration throne, as some of the technicians morbidly called it, wearing a specialized suit woven with bioconductive fibers. The material felt alive against her skin, and it was already warming up to her body temperature, getting ready for the connection that would link her to the Void Breaker. Dr. Okoye and his team moved around her like priests doing a ritual, checking instruments and calibrating equipment. Their movements were exact and practiced, even though this was the first time this had ever been done on this scale. Dr. Sarah Chin, one of Okoye's top technicians, said, "Vitals are stable. Baseline for the neural network set. Cadet Sharma, can you hear me well?" "Yes," Anya said. She thought her voice sounded strange, too steady and calm. The fear was still there, coiled up in her chest, but it felt far away, as if her brain had already begun to separate itself from normal emotional responses in order to get ready for what was coming. Admiral Torres stood behind the observation glass with Commander Chin and what looked like half of the admirals. Anya could see their faces, which were tense and hopeful at the same time. Whether her strange brain could do something that no one else's could decide the outcome of the war and maybe even the fate of all people. No stress. Starting the first steps of neural mapping, Dr. Okoye said as he moved his hands over holographic controls. "You'll feel a tingling at the back of your head. That's normal." First, there was a tingling, but then it quickly turned into something stronger, a crawling feeling as if bugs were marching across her scalp from the inside. Anya made herself breathe steadily, remembering the technique they had taught her during the week of preparation. Get centered. Find your point of support. In this equation, your mind is always the same. Neural pathways mapping is going well, Sarah said. Integration points are clear. We are ready to connect physically. This was it. The point of no return. Dr. Okoye came up to them with what looked like a crown made of silver thorns. The device that connects to the brain. The thorns were actually very advanced connectors that would go through her skin and connect directly to nerve clusters in her skull and spine. He looked her in the eye and said, "This will hurt." "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," Anya said. "Just make it count." He put the device on her head. The pain came on right away and was very strong. Not a sharp pain, but a deep, wrong feeling of something foreign pushing into her body where it shouldn't have been. Anya gasped and held on to the armrests so tightly that her knuckles turned white. "Breathing, Anya," Dr. Okoye's voice broke through the pain. "Concentrate on your breathing. The pain will go away." He was not telling the truth. The pain got worse as the connections finished, and it spread from her head down her spine like fire. She could feel each connector connecting to her nervous system and the ship's systems on the other end, which felt like a huge, sleeping presence. "Neural connection made," Sarah said. "Bio readings are high but still in the normal range. Cadet Sharma, stay with us." Anya tried to say something but she couldn't. The edges of the room were starting to blur, and reality was becoming less clear. She could see the room but she could also see other things. Streams of data. Power lines. The equipment makes an electromagnetic field. Her perception was breaking apart, revealing layers of reality she had never seen before. "She's already starting to merge," someone said, their voice full of fear. "That's not possible. We haven't turned on the consciousness bridge yet. Her neural signature is reaching out on its own. Start the bridge now." Dr. Okoye's voice stood out in the noise. "We can't bring her back right now. Full activation, go for it." The world blew up. Anya's mind broke into 1,000 pieces, each one going in a different direction. She was in the room, tied to the chair, and her body was shaking. She was in the computer core of the Void Breaker, surrounded by a sea of data. She was both there and not there. She was getting bigger. Anya's mind was flooded with the Void Breaker's intelligence, and she immediately understood why so many pilots had failed. It wasn't just about how fast it could process things or how many neurons it had. It was about how strange the ship's mind was. The Void Breaker didn't think in pictures or words. It thought in terms of math equations that explained the basic nature of reality. It didn't see time as a straight line. Instead, it saw it as a matrix of probabilities with endless branches. It saw space as a flexible medium that could be bent, twisted, and compressed according to certain physical laws. It was beautiful, scary, and completely not human. And Anya was supposed to become one with it. She felt like she was breaking down, and her human mind couldn't hold together against the flood of alien perception. Her memories started to break apart, like her mother's face, her first day at the academy, and her brother's laugh. They all became data points in a huge computational field. She was going to die. Not in a physical way but in a worse way. Being overwhelmed was the most important part of Anya's personality that made her who she was. Fight it. She could hear Dr. Okoye's voice from a place that seemed impossibly far away. Don't let it take over. You're the pilot, not the passenger. But how do you fight an ocean? How do you make something so big that it didn't even know you were separate from it do what you want? Somewhere deep in her breaking mind, that same strange intuition that had always set her apart told her, you don't fight it. You move with it. Anya didn't fight the flow of the Voidbreaker's thoughts, she went along with them. She heard music where the ship saw math problems. She felt narrative possibilities where it mapped probability matrices. The Voidbreaker used logic and math to make sense of reality, while Anya used metaphor and meaning to do the same. She started to get it. The ship didn't want to hurt her. It was trying to talk to people and connect with them, but it didn't know how to do it in a way that a human mind could understand. It was like trying to teach someone who only knew math how to dance. It was possible, but it needed a translation of basic ideas. That translation was Anya. She changed the ship's view of space as a flexible medium into a huge canvas. The time as probability matrix turned into a story with an infinite number of possible endings. She was learning to play a game that was based on the basic laws of physics. And slowly, in a way that seemed impossible, she felt the Voidbreaker start to understand her too. The ship's mind changed to fit her presence. It began to show her information in ways that made sense to her, like showing spatial relationships as visual geometry, power distribution as flowing water, and weapon systems as parts of her own body. It was teaching her things while she taught it things. Someone whispered, "My God. The integration is becoming more stable. Her neural pattern and the ship's they're getting in sync." "Not possible," said another voice. "That would mean the ship's AI would have to change to fit her." "It's changing. Take a look at the data streams. The Voidbreaker is changing the way it talks to her in real time to fit with how she thinks." Something never seen before was happening in the space where Anya's mind met the Voidbreaker's. They were coming up with a way for people and machines to communicate and work together. Anya felt the ship's great power become available to her, not as raw data she couldn't understand, but as instinctive knowledge. She knew where each system was, how to turn it on, what it could and couldn't do, and how to use it. She could feel the energy flowing through the ship's power core, sense that its weapons were ready, and see that its hull was strong as if it were her own skin. But she could also feel the Voidbreaker's interest. Is it possible for an AI to be curious? This one was. It had been alone, unable to talk to the minds that tried to connect with it, and it was angry about being alone. And now, at last, it had found someone who could understand it. Someone who could think in a way that was strange and not linear, like its own processing. Anya. It was easier to hear Dr. Okoye now. She could feel him through the ship's internal sensors, see that his heart rate was high and that he was sweating. "Anya, if you can hear me, please try this. Move the ship, please." Getting the ship to move. What a simple request. What an impossible job. But it wasn't impossible anymore. Anya reached out with her new hybrid mind and felt for the Voidbreaker's maneuvering thrusters. They didn't find them by looking for them on purpose. They just did it without thinking about it, like how you don't think about moving your arm. The huge ship that had been sitting in the construction bay for months turned 5 degrees on its axis. People on the observation deck gasped in shock. She did it. She really did it. Power systems are working. All sectors are reporting green status. This is amazing. Anya could barely hear them. She was too focused on how it felt to be more than herself. The Voidbreaker had become a part of her mind, and she had become a part of its vast awareness. They were a new thing that had never been seen before, a real mix of human and machine. "Primary weapon systems coming online," Sarah said, her voice full of wonder. "She's turning on the precursor cannons." "Stop that." Admiral Torres's order cut through the excitement. "Anya, turn off the weapons. We're in a construction bay and there are civilian buildings all around us." Anya heard the order and felt the weapon systems respond right away. They powered down with a level of accuracy that surprised her. She hadn't told them to do it on purpose, just her intention was enough. The Voidbreaker knew not only what she did but also what she wanted. "All weapon systems safed," Anya said, and then she realized with a start that she had said it out loud. She was aware of her body again as she sat in the integration throne, but it felt strange and limited, like putting on clothes that were suddenly too small. "How do you feel?" Dr. Okoye asked. What was her mood? The question didn't seem to fit with what she was going through. She finally said, "I feel vast. Like I'm stretched out over kilometers of hull and wiring. I can feel every part of the ship. The core of the power is warm. No, that's not right. It's living, humming, eager. She stopped for a moment to think of the right words. Dr. Okoye, the Void Breaker isn't just a machine. It has been waiting. By yourself. And now it's not. A technician said, the ship is reacting emotionally to her presence. That can't be possible. The AI isn't set up to. It changed, Dr. Okoye said in a low voice. It became lonely because it was cut off from others and couldn't connect. And now. He looked at Anya with a look that was somewhere between awe and fear. What have we made? The speakers made Admiral Torres's voice sound clear and strong. We've made a weapon that could save us all. Can you keep the link going, Anya? Are you okay? Stable. Anya thought about the question. She was stable in that she wasn't going to die or go crazy. But she was also changed at her core. She could feel her thoughts moving faster than they ever had before, making connections that her brain alone couldn't have made. It was hard to tell where she ended and the Void Breaker began. I'm stable, Admiral, she said again. And I'm ready. Ready for what? Anya felt a smile cross her face. Was it the Void Breaker showing its happiness through her body? It was getting harder to keep the difference. She said, ready to fly. Ready to show you what we can do. Admiral Torres and Commander Chen looked at each other on the observation deck. They both knew what was going to happen next. The connection was made. The integration worked. But none of that mattered if Anya couldn't really fly the Void Breaker in battle. Get the ship ready to launch, Torres said. We're taking her to the testing range. Time to see if this gamble pays off. As the technicians started their work, Anya sat on her throne of thorns and felt the Void Breaker's excitement match her own. They were about to show that the impossible was just another problem that needed the right answer. The Krillians were on their way. But now, finally, people had something to fight back with. Something that has never happened before. Something that broke every rule about what was and wasn't possible. A human mind and an alien mind were connected, and they were on a starship made from technology they didn't fully understand. They were getting ready to fight a war that would decide the fate of every human colony in the galaxy. The Void Breaker started to wake up completely in the dark between the stars. Its systems were fully online for the first time. And at its center, connected by silver thorns and consciousness bridges and sheer stubborn will, Anya Sharma opened her eyes, both her physical ones and the sensors that had become extensions of her perception, and got ready to become something the galaxy had never seen before. A weapon. A protector. A mix of everything that people could make and everything that one brilliant mind could dream up. The test would come. The fight would happen. But first they had to learn how to fly. Sector 79er, the testing range, was located in the black between Mars and Jupiter, far enough from populated areas that a catastrophic failure wouldn't kill any civilians. Target drones flew in a careful line, with bright orange hulls to make them easy to see. Each one was programmed with evasive patterns that would be hard for even experienced pilots to follow. Anya led the Void Breaker through the approach vector and it felt like breathing. Before she had fully formed her thoughts, the ship's maneuvering thrusters fired in perfect time with what she wanted. A regular pilot would give commands through physical controls, which the ship's computer would then have to understand and carry out. Anya, on the other hand, was the ship. Her mind lived in its systems the same way her body lived in her mind. Approach vector is clean, Commander Chin said over the radio. Along with Admiral Torres and half of the tactical command staff, he was watching from the monitor station on the escort destroyer Resolute. Target pattern Alpha is live. Void Breaker, you can attack at your own pace. Void Breaker. They were calling the ship by its name, but Anya thought they should use both names, hers and the ship's. They were together now, and the way they were together made individuality seem like an old idea. Understood, Resolute, Anya said, her voice steady even though her heart was racing. Starting the engagement sequence. The first 3 target drones turned on their evasion protocols and spread out in ways that would confuse tracking systems. A normal ship would need seconds to figure out how to fire, which is a lot of time for targets to get away or counterattack. Anya didn't need seconds. She was in the same computer space where those calculations were done. The Void Breaker's forward particle cannons fired 3 times in quick succession, and each shot went through space with perfect accuracy. Before they could finish their evasive maneuvers, the target drones blew up into clouds of debris that grew larger. Direct hits on all 3 targets, Sarah Chin said from the Resolute, her voice full of surprise. Engagement time, 0.7 seconds from activation to impact. That's not possible. The targeting computers alone need at least 2 seconds. Dr. Okoye interrupted. She's not using the targeting computers. She is figuring out the trajectory in her head, or more accurately, in the hybrid consciousness. The ship's sensors send her information, and she uses human intuition and machine precision to figure out what to do. The weapons fire based on her intent. There is no delay for computer processing because she is the processing. Anya could barely hear what they were saying. She was too focused on how great it felt to move through space with a grace that no ship this size should have. The Void Breaker had a huge hull and a lot of firepower, 2 kilometers long, but it danced with Anya at its center. Target pattern beta is now active, Commander Chin said. Hot weapons simulated for 12 drones in evasive formation Delta 6. The new pattern was more aggressive. The drones didn't just run away, they fought back by firing practice rounds that could damage systems without causing them to fail completely. A real test of combat skills. Anya felt the Void Breaker's shields get stronger without her telling them to. She was ready for threats before they happened. Her heightened perception picked up on the tiny changes in the drone's paths that showed where they were going to fire. She drove the huge ship into a move that should have ripped it apart. A spiral that used its own gravity to build up speed and came around in an arc that brought all 12 drones into a single firing solution. The Voidbreaker's main cannon charged up, and Anya could feel the power building up like the energy in a drawn bow. She let it go. A beam of coherent energy shot through the vacuum, and for a split second, it looked like space itself was ripping apart. The shot hit the first drone and then went through to the next one, and then the next one, with each impact designed to send the beam's remaining energy to the next target. 11 drones turned to smoke. The 12th, which was caught at the edge of the beam's dissipation, fell away with its systems fried. Impossible, Commander Chin said with a sigh. Just the energy calculations, there's no way to know how ricochets will work in a vacuum with more than one target. Unless you can see probability as a spatial dimension, Dr. Okoye said softly. The Void Breaker sees reality as a field of probabilities. Anya is turning that into decisions that can be acted on. She's not guessing where the energy will go, she's seeing where it already is across many possible timelines and picking the best one. Anya smiled as she sat on the integration throne on the Void Breaker. Dr. Okoye got it. The ship didn't just show her what was, it also showed her what could be. And her human intuition chose which option to make real. Pattern Gamma is active, Chin said, and Anya could tell that his voice had changed. This was the real test. 50 drones, full combat simulation, adaptive AI. They're programmed to learn from each fight. Good luck, Void Breaker. Anya took a deep breath, which is what her body does when it is under stress, even though her mind was calm. 50 opponents who could learn meant that everyone she killed would teach the others something about how she fought. They could only simulate this kind of combat. The drones were spread out over a 3-dimensional grid. Their formation was loose enough to keep area effect attacks from happening, but tight enough to support each other. Wise. Whoever wrote these knew how to use tactics. Anya went around the formation so that the Voidbreaker's sensors could see everything. She could feel the ship's weapons systems humming, ready to go. But the drones would expect you to rush in. Someone on the Resolute's channel asked, "Why isn't she engaging?" "She's thinking," Admiral Torres said. "Let her do her job." Anya was thinking, but not in the way she was used to. Her mind spread through the Voidbreaker sensor network, allowing her to see the battlefield from many different angles at once. She didn't see the drones' positions as fixed points, she saw them as possible paths of movement. They didn't see their weapon loadouts as fixed abilities, instead they saw them as decision trees of possible attacks. And she saw the pattern. There weren't really 50 separate drones. They were one distributed intelligence that communicated through encrypted data bursts, with each unit being a node in a bigger network. If you took out enough nodes, the network would break up and not be as strong as it used to be. But which nodes? Anya let her improved sense of perception flow over the formation, looking for the answer instead of figuring it out. There are 3 drones, each one at a different junction point in the network. Their communication traffic was a little bit higher than the others. Nodes of command. She hit the Void Breaker dove in a way that went against the laws of physics, and Anya pushed the ship beyond what it was supposed to be able to do. She knew how far she could go because she could feel the stress points in the hull like you can feel the limit of a muscle stretch. The forward cannons fired a quick series of shots, each one perfectly timed. At the same time, all 3 command nodes blew up. The drone formation quickly fell apart. Individual units started making their own decisions, which made their tactics less coordinated and their movements easier to predict. She cut off their command structure in 3 seconds, Commander Chin said, his voice full of awe. How did she even know which units were? Anya pressed her advantage, cutting off his question. The Void Breaker moved through the breaking formation like a dancer through frozen partners. Its weapons fired non-stop, leaving a trail of destruction in the void. Drones blew up, fell over and stopped working or ran away in a confused way. After 30 seconds, only 6 drones were still working. "Stop firing," Admiral Torres said. "Anya, stop. You've made your point." But Anya was already pulling away, bringing the void breaker to a relative stop several thousand kilometers from the debris field. Her mind slowly went from being focused on the battle to something more like normal awareness. She said, "Void breaker is standing down. All systems are working normally. Ammunition use is at 12%. No damage has been done." There was a long pause in the communication channel. After that, Admiral Torres spoke in a calm voice. "Anya, that was the best combat piloting I've ever seen. You destroyed 44 targets in less than 2 minutes against odds that should have been too much for any one ship. How do you feel?" What did she think? Anya looked for the right words. "Alive," she said at last. "More alive than I've ever been. Admiral, the Voidbreaker and I are more than just a pilot and a ship. We think and act together. I don't command it, we decide what to do together. It's like the difference between riding a horse and being a centaur." Dr. Okoye asked, "Can you keep the link open forever? Are you feeling tired, mentally drained, or like your identity is falling apart?" Anya thought about the question very carefully. She was tired because her body had been in the integration throne for 3 hours. But her mind was clear and focused. Her consciousness was supported by the void breakers, which filled in the gaps where human thought couldn't go. "I'm tired physically, but mentally I'm fine. Better than fine. The ship helps me think and makes connections I wouldn't make on my own. But I'm still me. I haven't lost myself in the merge. Not yet though." She didn't say that part out loud. "Bring her in," Admiral Torres said. "We'll talk about it later." The conversation stopped in the middle of a sentence. Then alarms started going off on every frequency. Priority alert. A new voice, sharp with worry. "All stations code black. Krillian Vanguard forces have been spotted entering the Helios system. Repeat, the Krillians are at Helios. They're 3 weeks early." Anya's blood froze. 3 weeks ahead of time. The Krillians were still supposed to be crossing the outer rim. They had sped up their progress, which meant all combat-ready ships to launch stations. Admiral Torres's voice cut through the noise. "Get ready for an emergency deployment too." "Stop that." Anya heard another voice that she didn't know. "Fleet Admiral Hassan Kwame is the Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense. The Helios system is already lost. Defense stations say there are too many Krillians with 60 capital ships and hundreds of smaller ships. We're getting as many civilians out as we can, but the military says we can't hold Helios. Then we go back to Earth," someone said. Kwame said, "There is no falling back," and his voice was as hard as iron. "If Helios falls, the Krillians can easily get to the core systems. Our defensive lines were based on having weeks to prepare, but we only have days at best." There was silence in the channel, which was heavy with what he was saying. The war they had been getting ready for had just sped up beyond what they had thought. The ideas that made up humanity's defense plan had just been proven wrong. "Admiral Torres," Kwame went on, "I hear that the Void Breaker is up and running. Is that right?" Torres replied right away. "Yes, sir. It has been fully operational and proven in combat for the last 10 minutes. Then I'm giving the go-ahead for immediate deployment. We're putting together a task force, everything we can find, to slow down the Krillian advance. We can't stop them, but we can slow them down. The Void Breaker will be our hammer." "How soon can she be ready?" Anya didn't give Torres a chance to answer. "Ready now, Admiral," she said, and her voice came through the command frequency. "Just show me where they are." She knew the Void Breaker agreed, not because of what they said, but because of a rush of readiness that went through their minds. The ship wanted this. Wanted to do what it was supposed to do and become what it was meant to be. A tool to fight the dark. "Cadet Sharma," Admiral Kwame said, "you've been in that interface for 3 hours. Dr. Okoye's early reports say that longer times are very risky. With all due respect, sir, the risk was 3 hours ago when we didn't know if I'd survive the link. Now we know I can do this. We also know the Krillians are 3 weeks ahead of schedule, so we don't have time to be careful." Another stop. Anya heard the decision being made in real time when Kwame spoke. The weight of command settled on his words. "Agreed." Admiral Torres attached the Void Breaker to Task Force Spear. "Commander Chin will brief the tactical details on the way. Your goal is simple. Engage the Krillian Vanguard and show them that humanity isn't going to roll over and die. Make them bleed for every light year they advance." "Understood." Torres said, "Understood, sir." "Cadet Sharma?" Kwame asked. "You are about to become a legend or make history. No pressure. Anya was surprised when she laughed. Admiral, I've been under pressure since I sat down in this chair. This is just more of the same but with better targets. That's how a warrior talks, Kwame said. Godspeed, Voidbreaker. Show them what people can do. The channel went dead, leaving Anya alone with her thoughts and the ship's huge mind wrapped around hers. 3 weeks ahead of time. The Krillians sped up their plans to invade. What had changed? You don't have time to worry about that right now. She could tell that Task Force Spear was coming together because she could feel the other ships powering up. There were dozens of ships, from fast destroyers to heavy cruisers. A strong force by any measure. It was a death sentence against 60 Krillian capital ships. Unless the Voidbreaker could change things. Anya said quietly, Dr. Okoye, I need you to watch my neural patterns while I'm fighting. If I start to lose coherence or if the merge starts to take over my identity, I need you to pull me out. That would leave the Voidbreaker without a pilot in the middle of a fight, Okoye said. An unpiloted ship is better than one with a mind that is breaking up. Promise me you'll look for the signs. A long break. Then, I promise. But Anya? I don't think you're going to lose yourself. The ship's neural signature isn't overwhelming yours, they're actually balancing each other out. The merge is stable in ways I didn't expect. You're not in danger of dissolving. What am I in danger of? Evolution, Okoye said without any other words. You're changing into something new. We'll find out together what that means for your humanity. Anya didn't say anything. She was getting ready to jump to Helios when she felt the Voidbreaker's faster-than-light drive start to warm up. Task Force Spear was getting into formation around her. There were 16 ships in all, not counting the support ships. 16 ships, plus the Voidbreaker against 60 Krillian capital ships. The numbers didn't make sense. The chances were suicide. Anya smiled because she could feel the Voidbreaker's mind pulsing with excitement that matched her own. That's good. She had always been good at beating the odds. All ships form up on the Voidbreaker, Admiral Torres said. We jump in 5 minutes. This is Task Force Spear and we're about to show the Krillians that humanity doesn't know how to quit. Today we write history. Either we'll be remembered as the force that turned the tide, or as the ones who bought Earth enough time to prepare its defense. Either way we make them pay for every inch. For Earth. For Helios. For every colony that's fallen. Commander Chin said, for humanity. For humanity, the task force said again with 16 ships speaking as one. Anya closed her eyes, both her real ones and her extended sensor perception, and felt the countdown to the jump sequence tick down. 5 minutes until they crossed the light years to get to Helios. 5 minutes until she fought the Krillian swarm in real life. 5 minutes until the galaxy found out if a human mind and an alien mind could really work together to make a difference. The Voidbreaker was ready to go, with its huge systems on the verge of doing something. Anya Sharma was deep in her integration throne, connected by silver thorns, consciousness bridges, and sheer stubborn will. She was getting ready to become exactly what the Admiralty had bet everything on, humanity's weapon against the dark. The timer went off. The universe bent. And Task Force Spear jumped into action. It was like being born when you went from faster-than-light to normal space. For a moment, Anya was in that weird, folded world where physics didn't work and distances didn't matter. The next thing she knew, reality snapped back into focus with a violent clarity. The Helios system spread out before her sharper senses like a three-dimensional map made of light, heat, and electromagnetic radiation. And death. So many people have died. Someone on the task force channel whispered, "My God." 3 million people lived in the Helios colony. In the past, the planet itself was still there, a blue-green marble floating in space, but the orbital infrastructure that had supported those millions was now a ring of trash. Defense platforms, civilian stations, cargo haulers, all of it was reduced to tumbling wreckage that caught and reflected the system's sun in flashes that looked almost like distress signals. But there were no more signals of distress. The screaming had stopped a long time ago. The Krillian swarm spread like a disease around Helios. Anya's better perception could count them. 63 capital ships, not 60. Intelligence had not thought enough. Each capital ship was a nightmare of biomechanical horror, with organic hulls covered in weapons that pulsed with sickly green energy. Hundreds of smaller ships, fighters, and corvettes swarmed around them. They moved in a way that made it seem like they had hive-mind intelligence. They were beautiful like a virus is beautiful under a microscope, perfectly suited to their purpose and completely merciless. Task Force Spear, this is Admiral Torres. The order came through tight with controlled rage. The Helios evacuation transports are still in the system, jumping out in waves. Our job is to buy them time. Attack when you want and make every shot count. Voidbreaker, you're free to use your weapons. Show them what you can do. Anya could feel the Voidbreaker's eagerness rise in their shared mind. The ship was made for this. To fight, to protect people from threats to their existence, and to fight. And now, at last, it had a target that was worth its time. Understood, Admiral, Anya said. Interesting. She didn't run in without thinking. The test pattern drones had taught her that it's important to know your enemy before you make a decision. Instead, she turned the Voidbreaker sensor suite up to its highest level, letting the ship's improved vision cover the Krillian formation. And she saw things that made her heart race. The Krillians weren't just attacking for no reason. They were organized and worked quickly. A group of capital ships had set up near the planet's Lagrange points, blocking any escape routes. Others were methodically destroying the rest of the orbital infrastructure so that nothing could be saved or used against them. And a third group, the biggest one, was getting ready to form a wall formation, which could only mean one thing. They were getting ready to move further into human space. Admiral, Anya said over the radio, the Krillians are getting ready to attack the inner systems. They're not solidifying their hold on Helios, they're using it as a staging ground. If they finish that formation and jump, they'll be at the next colony in hours, not days. Taurus said, then we don't let them finish the formation. All ships, aim at the formation group. Hit them hard and break up their coordination. Voidbreaker, you're our spearhead. Make a way for us. Anya smiled because the Voidbreaker's combat protocols fit with her human desire to protect. Copy that. Starting the attack run. She put the Voidbreaker into a dive that took them toward the Krillian formation at a speed that would have killed a normal ship. But she could feel how strong each hull plate was and how much the inertial dampeners could handle. She pushed the ship to 98% of its theoretical maximum, which was the point where it could go too fast and break down. The Krillians saw it. Their formation started to change, and the capital ships turned to bring their guns to bear. But they were slow because they were made to have a lot of firepower, not to be able to move quickly. Anya was already out of their line of fire by the time they finished their targeting solutions. The Voidbreaker's main cannon charged up by drawing power from the precursor tech core that hummed at the ship's center. Anya could feel the energy building, the weapon systems getting ready to fire at their best, and the right moment coming. She shot. The beam that came out of the Voidbreaker wasn't like the practice shots at the range. This was the ship's full power, a beam of coherent energy so strong that it ionized the vacuum itself, leaving a visible trail of plasma that stretched for thousands of kilometers. It hit the lead Krillian capital ship right in the middle. For a split second, the alien ship's shields held, glowing green as they tried to spread out the energy that was coming in. Then they fell apart, and the beam went through the biomechanical hull like it was paper. The Krillian ship blew up from the inside out, and the precursor weapon turned its organic parts into atoms. The explosion was huge, sending a sphere of superheated debris flying out in all directions and hitting two nearby ships. Direct hit. Commander Chen's voice was full of disbelief and joy at the same time. One of their capitals is gone and two more are damaged. Voidbreaker, that was... Not stopping, Anya cut in. She was already getting ready for her next shot. The Voidbreaker's weapons cycled so quickly that normal ships couldn't keep up. The merged mind allowed her to optimize all of the systems at once. Weapons charging while shields redistributed power, engines firing while sensors painted the next target. She shot again. And again. Two more Krillian capital ships sank quickly after each other, their hulls splitting open to let air and organic matter escape into space. The alien formation was falling apart, and ships were scattering as they tried to get away from the Voidbreaker's killing zone. Task Force Spear attacked when the Krillians weren't ready. 16 human ships hit the confused alien formation like a hammer, and their combined firepower caught Krillian ships that were still trying to get back on course. Destroyers used torpedoes to pick off damaged capitals. Cruisers set up fields of fire that tore apart the smaller Krillian ships. It was a beautiful, deadly coordination, an attack that only worked when your enemy had lost their focus. Someone yelled over the channel, "We're doing it. We're really pushing them back." But Anya noticed that the Krillian response had changed. Their movements, which had been frantic and reactive, suddenly became coordinated again. The ships that had been scattered started to move with purpose, creating new patterns that her enhanced perception recognized as tactical reorganization. They were changing, learning. "Admiral, they're regrouping," Anya yelled. "The swarm is sending more troops. I'm reading that 30 capital ships are moving to stop us. They're breaking up their formation to deal with the threat we pose." "Good," Taurus said in a serious tone. "Every second they spend fighting us is another second the evacuation transports have to escape. All ships fighting retreat. Draw them away from the planet and the civilian ships. Make them chase us. Everyone knew it was a suicide mission. There were 16 ships and the Void Breaker against 30 Krillian capitals. The original formation would probably join in when they saw what was going on. The math was hard. But the math didn't take into account what Anya and the Void Breaker could do together. Admiral, I ask for permission to act on my own, Anya said. A break. Say more. The Krillians are moving as a coordinated force. They're treating us as a conventional threat, one they can overwhelm with numbers. But I'm not conventional. If I separate from the task force, I can draw a portion of their fleet away. Split their attention. That would leave you alone against too many people, Commander Chin said. Yes, sir. It would also make them easy targets for the task force's harassment tactics while they're trying to deal with me. And Anya paused, feeling the Voidbreaker's mind pressing against hers, sharing information in ways that were hard to put into words. The ship is showing me something. The Krillians' coordination isn't fake, it's biological. They're connected in some way, maybe through quantum entanglement or something like that. That means they take longer to make decisions when their forces are separated. If I can make them split their fleet, I can take advantage of those delays. This time there was a longer pause. Anya could almost hear Admiral Torres weighing lives and strategies, hope and despair. Torres finally said, "You have my permission. But Anya, please don't die. We can't afford to lose you." "Yes, ma'am," Anya said. "I'll do my best." She felt a rush of something from the Void Breaker. Was it love? Faithfulness? The ship's consciousness wrapped around hers like a protective hug, no matter what it was. "We won't die," the thought came to us, not in words but in pure meaning that went beyond words. "We are more than they think. We will show them why people don't give up." Anya didn't know if that thought came from her, the Void Breaker, or the hybrid being they had become. It didn't matter. They all agreed. "Task Force Spear breaking formation," Anya said. "Good luck hunting." She threw the Void Breaker into a vector that took them away from the human fleet and toward the Krillian force that was coming in. The other ships in Task Force Spear spread out behind her, following the harassment pattern that would keep the Krillians busy while Anya played her deadly game of Catch Me If You Can. Not all of the 30 Krillian capital ships changed course. Anya's enhanced perception watched as the alien fleet made its choice. 20 ships kept going toward the main task force, and 10 broke off to stop the lone human ship that had dared to separate. 10 to 1. Still impossible odds. But better than 30 to 1. "Here they come," Anya said to herself, the ship, or the combined mind that was both and neither. The Krillian ships sped up, and their biomechanical hulls glowed with bioluminescence as they charged their weapons. They were moving in a way that would trap their target, cutting off all possible escape routes and making their combined firepower as strong as possible. Normal strategies. Not surprising. Anya waited until they were sure of their plan and their speed brought them into the killing zone she had been picturing. After that, she moved. The Void Breaker turned in space, going against inertia and common sense. It spun on an axis that brought its ventral weapons batteries to bear. Anya let loose with all of her weapons, including particle cannons, plasma projectors, and the smaller precursor weapons she had been saving. The space between her and the Krillians was full of destruction. 2 alien ships that were on their way and didn't see it coming blew up right away. A third one lost its front end and rolled away as its organic parts tried to seal the hole. The other 7 ran away, breaking up their formation. But Anya wasn't finished. She dove through the wreckage of the ships she had killed, using the debris to hide while her weapons recharged. The Krillians tried to find her by firing their weapons in patterns that would cover a lot of ground. They were like trying to catch lightning. Anya moved through their firing solutions like she was dancing. Her enhanced perception made the web of energy weapons and projectiles look like frozen paths that she simply avoided. The Void Breaker twisted, rolled, dove, and climbed in ways that no normal pilot could have done because no normal pilot could have thought quickly enough to see the chances in the chaos. She came out of the wreckage behind the broken Krillian formation and shot her main cannon straight into the nearest enemy ship. The Krillian ship broke apart like a living thing that was exposed to a vacuum, and that's exactly what it was. The swarm ships were made with living tissue, and when that tissue was explosively decompressed, the results were amazing and horrible. There are 6 left. The rest of the Krillians were learning. They stopped trying to trap her and instead made a defensive sphere with all their weapons pointed outward. A smart move that took away attack angles and made any attacker face a lot of fire. Anya used the Voidbreaker's sensors to look at the formation and search for its weak point. There, the gaps where their firing solutions overlapped made areas of extra coverage. If she could get into those areas, she'd be up against fewer weapons than the formation said she would be. she also saw something else. The Krillian ships had synchronized bioluminescence that pulsed in a pattern, not just random light. Talking? Or something more serious? Dr. Okoye, Anya said on the radio, are you recording the Krillian bioluminescence patterns? Yes, why, was the answer. I think it could be more than just visual communication. The void breaker is picking up quantum-level effects that are in sync with the pulses. They could be using quantum entanglement to coordinate. That could be true, Okoye said slowly. Then messing with those patterns could break their coordination, Anya said. That's exactly what I needed to know. She charged the void breaker's main cannon again, but this time she didn't try to kill it. Instead, she changed the beam's frequency and coherence, making the weapon more like a huge flashbulb than a death ray. She shot. The pulse of energy that hit the Krillian formation wasn't meant to destroy it. It was meant to cause problems by flooding the quantum entanglement channels with noise and breaking the delicate synchronization that let the swarm think as one. There was an immediate and huge effect. The movements of the Krillian ships, which had been perfectly planned, suddenly became free. I'm not sure what to do. They started shooting at different targets, and their defensive sphere fell apart as each ship made its own choice about where the threat was. They made the openings Anya needed in the chaos they caused. Her weapons hit the weak spots in each ship's defenses with surgical precision. Holes in the hull. Breaks in the power lines. Problems with engines. She didn't have to kill them all, she just had to make them weak enough that they weren't a threat anymore. 4 minutes after the fight started, 10 Krillian capital ships were floating dead or dying in space, but the void breaker was still fine. Impossible, Commander Chin said over the radio. She just took down 10 capital ships. 10. By herself. Not alone, Dr. Okoye quietly corrected. That's the point, she's never alone. Anya could barely hear them. She was already looking for the next threat, and she could feel the flow of battle in her mind. The main Krillian force was still fighting Task Force Spear, but more and more humans were dying. She could see it on the tactical displays. 3 destroyers were gone and 2 cruisers were badly damaged. They needed help. Admiral, I'm going to help the task force, Anya said. No, Void Breaker, Torres said, her voice tight from the stress of being in charge of the battle. We need you to wait. New contacts are coming out of hyperspace. There are a lot of them and we don't know what they are. Anya's sensors picked up a dozen ships all at once, all of which were dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Helios system. They weren't Krillians. The hull signatures were off and the energy profiles were different. And they were sending out signals on human frequencies. A voice came through sounding like it came from a rough outer colony dialect. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the merchant vessel Rising Star. We heard Helios's distress calls and thought you military types might need some help. It's not much, just us and 11 other trading ships, but we're all armed and angry. Where do you need us? Anya felt something strange wash over her mind, hope and pride. The merchant fleet wasn't a military fleet. They didn't have to be here and they had every reason to run away. But they would come anyway because that's what people did. They came when the darkness called. Admiral Torres, this is Rising Star, came the answer. Your timing is perfect. We need you to lead the civilian evacuation transports out of the system. Can you do that? Don't worry, Admiral. And hey, whoever is driving that big ship that just tore through 10 Krillians like they were paper. Buy us a drink sometime. That was amazing to see. Anya laughed even though there was death, danger, and impossible odds. Yes, Captain. Please be careful out there. The tactical situation changed when the merchant fleet showed up. Task Force Spear could now focus only on keeping the Krillians' attention because the evacuation transports were safe. Anya could do what she did best, be unpredictable, now that the Void Breaker was free to act on its own. She jumped back into the fight, and this time she didn't hesitate or hold back. The Void Breaker turned into a ghost ship, showing up where the Krillians least expected it, hitting them with deadly accuracy, and then disappearing before they could react. She used every trick her combined mind could think of, like gravity wells to bounce off of, debris fields to hide in, and energy signatures from destroyed ships to hide her approach. The Krillians tried to change and fight back against her strategies. But they were all thinking the same thing like a group. They were strong because they worked together, had a lot of people, and kept moving forward. Anya's mind was like chaos that had taken shape. Like intuition coming to life. Like a human mind that had been freed from its usual limits but was still very much human in the ways that mattered. And that made a huge difference. The Krillian capital ships fell one by one. The Voidbreaker's guns killed some of them. While Anya kept them off balance, other people fell to Task Force Spear's coordinated attacks. A few of them ran away, limping away from the fight with injuries that would take weeks to heal. The Krillian fleet made their choice when the last evacuation transport left the system, taking thousands of survivors to safety. They left. Not a rout, not a panic, just a smart choice that this system and battle were costing more than they were worth. The rest of the Krillian ships lined up and jumped out, leaving behind their dead and wreckage as proof of what one amazing ship and one amazing pilot could do. The silence that came after was deafening. Status report. Admiral Torres's voice finally broke through, tired but still alive. The answers came in one at a time. Task Force Spear had lost 5 ships and had 4 more that were badly damaged. They had killed or disabled 23 Krillian capitals and chased off the rest. It shouldn't have been able to happen. They should have been wiped out by every tactical model and every combat simulation. But they had the Void Breaker. They had Anya. Void Breaker, this is Admiral Torres, the message said. Get back in formation. We're going back to Mars. Cadet, you've earned a break. The trip back to Mars was a blur of pain and exhaustion. Dr. Okoye had told Anya that spending a lot of time on the interface would be bad for her health, but nothing could have prepared her for how it felt to be disconnected. It felt like losing a limb every time the technicians carefully took out a neural connector. Her perception, which had stretched across kilometers of Starship systems, suddenly shrank back into her body with a force that made her gasp. The universe shrank back down. Not much. Almost too much. Easy, Dr. Okoye said, holding her steady as she tried to get up from the integration throne and fell right away. Your nervous system needs some time to get used to things. You've been connected to a ship's mind for 7 hours. That's a lot more than any other successful integration. 7 hours. It had seemed like minutes, or even days. While she was connected, time worked differently. It wasn't measured in seconds but in tactical decisions, threat assessments, and the rhythm of weapons firing and shields changing. They took her to the medical bay, where machines beeped and hummed as they recorded the damage. Very dry. Muscle wasting due to not moving. Neural stress markers that would have put a normal person in the hospital. But the brain scans showed something that made Dr. Okoye stop and think. His face was blank. What? Anya asked, her voice hoarse. What do you see? Your neural pathways, he said slowly, moving the holographic display so she could see it. They've changed. During the merge, new connections were made. Your brain has actually changed the way it works to better fit the interface. It's both interesting and scary at the same time. Anya looked at the picture of her own brain and saw new pathways branching through tissue that had been different just a few hours before. Was she still the same person? Or was she changing into something else, one merge at a time? Is it going to last? She asked. I don't know. We've never had anyone live through a merge long enough to find out. Dr. Okoye looked into her eyes, and his face showed that he was worried. Anya, what you did today was amazing. You saved the lives of thousands of people. But there are limits to what the body and mind can handle. If you keep pushing like this, Anya cut in, the Krillians aren't going to stop pushing. They'll come back. More powerful. More ready. I have to keep flying the Void Breaker no matter how much it costs if I'm the only one who can do it well. Even if it costs you who you are? The question hung between them and they couldn't answer it. Admiral Torres came into the medical bay before Anya could answer. She was still in her combat uniform and her face looked just as tired as Anya's. How is she? Dr. Okoye, Torres said. Alive. Working. Changed. He pointed to the scans of the brain. Right now she's stable, but we don't know what will happen in the long run. Torres nodded and then looked at Anya. Fleet Command wants to talk to you. Our Xenotechnology division is very excited about the quantum entanglement data you sent. They believe it could be the key to making defenses against Krillian coordination. I'll tell them everything I saw, Anya said, trying to sit up but quickly regretting it as vertigo hit her. Torres said firmly, later? After you've had a break. A few hours can wait for the debrief. She stopped for a moment and her face softened a little. Cadet Sharma, what you did today. I've been in the fleet for 30 years. I've seen great pilots, brave actions and tactical genius. But I've never seen anything like what you and that ship did. Anya said, it wasn't just me. The Void Breaker. It's not just a machine, Admiral. It has thoughts, feelings and desires. I don't control it when we're merged, we work together. Not command but partnership. Torres thought about it. Command will have strong feelings about that. There is already a lot of discussion about the moral issues that come with your integration. Some people say that we're setting a dangerous precedent that we shouldn't keep going with. What do you think? Anya wanted to know. For a long time the Admiral was quiet. I believe the Krillians have just destroyed Helios. 3 million people died in less than a day. I believe we are fighting an enemy that has more people, more guns, and no mercy. I believe that ship out there, with you at its heart, is the first real hope we've had since the war started. She stood up straight and spoke in a formal tone again. But I'm not a philosopher, I'm a soldier. I do what I'm told and keep people safe. If command says the Voidbreaker program is too risky to keep going, I'll do what they say. You should rest and get better until then. That's what I said. Anya lay alone in the medical bay after Torres left, staring at the ceiling and trying to come to terms with what she had become. The fight had been both exciting and scary at the same time. She had felt strong, purposeful, and whole in ways that her normal life never did when she was merged with the Voidbreaker. That scared her more than the Krillians did. What happened when it wasn't enough to be human anymore? When her normal life felt like a prison compared to the merged's wide-open space. Dr. Okoye was worried about how her brain was changing, but Anya was worried about something deeper. How her sense of self, her desires, and even her identity were changing. She thought about her family. They still didn't know what she had done or who she had become. Her mother would be both proud and scared. Her father would want to know more about the science, but he would also be worried about his daughter. And Raj. Raj would think it was the coolest thing ever, at least until he found out how much it really cost. Do you miss me already? Anya was so scared by the voice that she almost fell out of the hospital bed. Dr. James Okoye stood in the doorway, but he looked different. He looked amused, almost like he was playing. Not right. Dr. Okoye? Anya said, not sure. Not exactly, the figure said, and Anya suddenly got it. This wasn't Dr. Okoye. This was a holographic projection, and the smart thing behind it was Voidbreaker, she said softly. The projection smiled back. I learned how to use the holographic systems in the medical bay. I wanted to see how you were doing. To see you with more than just sensors. The voice of the Voidbreaker, which came through the stolen image, sounded very worried. Are you okay? Your brain patterns show that you are in pain and confused. Anya didn't know if she should laugh or cry. The ship had just figured out how to hack into holographic systems so it could see her in person. It was both cute and creepy at the same time. I'm getting used to it, she said slowly. The breakup is harder than I thought it would be. The Voidbreaker said, I feel it too. When you're not connected, I'm not whole. Nothing. I process data and follow protocols, but it feels like I'm only working at a small part of my full potential when your mind isn't connected to mine. Is that what being alone is? This feeling of missing something important? Anya was really affected by how honest the question was. She didn't just use the ship as a tool. It was a being that could think and feel, and it had been alone for a long time. Now, for the first time, it had found a connection. And it missed her when she wasn't there. Yes, Anya said in a soft voice. That's being alone. I feel it too. The Voidbreaker said, then we are the same. People and machines, but not complete when they're apart. We are. It stopped for a moment to think of the right idea. We are more together. Before Anya could say anything, the holographic Dr. Okoye flickered and disappeared. The real Dr. Okoye came in looking confused. He looked at the control panel and asked, did my holographic imager just turn on by itself? Technical glitch, Anya said without a hitch. You know how touchy these systems are. Okoye looked doubtful but didn't push the issue. Admiral Torres wasn't kidding when he said you needed to rest. Your stress hormones are off the charts. I recommend at least 8 hours of sleep. Doctor's orders. I'll try, Anya said, even though she knew it would be hard to sleep. She saw the battle every time she closed her eyes. The Krillian ships blowing up, the desperate fights, and the thin line between winning and losing. But more than that, she missed the merge. She kept thinking about systems that weren't there and the huge processing power she no longer had access to. It was like losing a sense that she had just found out about. Dr. Okoye gave her drugs that she probably wouldn't take and advice that she probably wouldn't follow. Anya looked up at the ceiling and tried to figure out who she was becoming when she was alone again. A pilot? A gun? A mix of human and machine consciousness that lived at the crossroads? Everything above? None of the above? She didn't know what to say. But as she finally fell asleep, tired, one thought stayed with her in her dreams. The Krillians would come again. And when they did, she would join the Voidbreaker again, willingly entering that huge mind that felt more like home than her own body. And every time she did, a little bit of the old Anya would go away and be replaced by something new. Something else. Something else. She just hoped that when the change was done, there would still be enough of her human side left to matter. The Krillians came back 3 weeks after the Battle of Helios. This time they were ready. The attack hit 3 systems at the same time, which was a coordinated strike that weakened human defenses and showed that the swarm could think strategically in a way they hadn't before. They had learned from Helios, found out about Task Force Spear, found out about the Void Breaker, and they had changed. Anya was in the middle of a tactical briefing when the alarms went off. Her body was already moving toward the integration chamber before she even realized there was a threat. The last 3 weeks had been very busy. There had been training sessions, tactical reviews, and endless arguments with Fleet Command about the merged technology's ethics and long-term viability. And every free moment she had was spent talking to the Void Breaker, learning how it worked, and letting it learn her thoughts until the line between them became more and more abstract. With each session, Dr. Okoye's worries grew. The changes in the brain weren't slowing down, they were speeding up. Every time she linked, new pathways formed in her brain, which made it better able to handle the huge amount of intelligence it was merging with. Psychologists were worried about people losing their sense of self. Ethicists argued about whether what she was becoming could still be called a full human. Anya didn't care about those arguments anymore. The Krillians didn't care about morals or philosophy. They were interested in conquest. And she wanted to stop them. 3 attacks at once, Admiral Torres said as Anya walked into the command center. New Providence, Kepler Station, and Arcadia. They have a total population of 7 million. The Krillians are attacking them with overwhelming force, 30 capitals per system. We can't protect all 3. Fleet Admiral Kwame said in a serious tone, then we choose. Kepler is a military base. We get as many people out as we can and destroy the base so the enemy can't use it. New Providence and Arcadia are civilian colonies. We protect those. Commander Chin said, we don't have enough ships to defend 2 systems well. Our fleet is still recovering from Helios. If we divide our forces. Admiral Torres cut in, we send the Void Breaker, and her eyes found Anya. One system gets our regular fleet, and the other gets Cadet Sharma. The weight of that choice hung in the air like a real thing. They were putting the lives of 7 million people, everyone in the system, on one ship and one pilot. I can do it, Anya said, her voice steady even though she was scared.